Deadly car explosion in Moscow hits top Russian general. Ukraine strikes Su-27 and Su-30 fighter jets deep inside Russia at Lipetsk Airbase, and how Russia preparing space weapons to attack Starlink. NATO intel warns. The latest news next. Information spread online this morning that an assassination attempt had been carried out in Moscow against Russian armed forces Major General Fanil Sarvarov. According to Russian Telegram channels, the explosion occurred in the courtyard of a residential building as he got into his car. As soon as the 56-year-old general sat in his Kia Sorento in the courtyard of an apartment building on Yasineva Street and began to drive off, an explosion went off. The vehicle was badly damaged and Sarvarov was extracted from the car. He sustained multiple shrapnel wounds and fractures and was hospitalized in serious condition. Preliminary reports say an improvised explosive device had been planted under the driver's seat. Later, Russia's investigative committee confirmed that Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov had died. The case is being investigated under articles related to murder committed in a manner dangerous to the public, as well as the illegal trafficking of explosive substances. On the night of December 20 to 21, a fire broke out at the Russian military airfield near Lipetsk, where two enemy fighter jets, a Su-30 and a Su-27, were set ablaze, reports Ukrainian defense intelligence.
As a result of an operation by Ukraine's defense intelligence, directly carried out by a representative of the resistance movement against the criminal Russian regime, both military aircraft of the aggressor were disabled.
The estimated combined value of the two fighter jets used by Russia in its war against Ukraine may reach up to $100 million. The Su-27 and Su-30 aircraft bearing tail number 12 and 82 were destroyed thanks to careful preparation and professionalism. Planning the special operation at the Lipetsk airfield took 2 weeks.
Studying patrol routes and guard rotation schedules made it possible to covertly penetrate the military facility of the aggressor state, strike the Russian Su aircraft, ED, directly inside a protective aircraft hangar, and then leave the airfield without obstruction.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has urged the U.S. President Donald Trump to seize Russian oil tankers if Kremlin dictator Vladimir Putin refuses to engage in negotiations on Ukraine. Graham made the remarks in an interview with NBC News. The senator's comments come amid U.S. actions against Venezuela, where Washington has imposed a blockade and has for several days been seizing oil tankers subject to sanctions. In addition, Graham expects Trump to support legislation introducing tariffs on the purchase of Russian oil, as well as to move toward designating Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism.
And he rebuffs all of our efforts. If he says no this time, here's what I hope President Trump will do. Signed my bill that has 85 co-sponsors and put tariffs on countries like China who buy cheap Russian oil. Make Russia a state sponsor of terrorism for kidnapping 20,000 Ukrainian kids. And most importantly, seize ships that are carrying sanctioned Russian oil like you're doing in Venezuela.
In addition, the senator stated that Ukraine should be provided with Tomahawk cruise missiles to strike Russian military facilities involved in the production of missiles and drones. Graham also voiced support for a peace agreement that would prevent Russia from launching another invasion. He believes this could be achieved by deploying Western troops on Ukrainian territory and providing the country with credible security guarantees. Russia is developing new anti-satellite weapons aimed at the Starlink system, which plays an important role in providing communications for Ukraine on the battlefield, according to NATO intelligence services. Intelligence reports that this involves so-called area effect weapons, which involve placing hundreds of thousands of small, high-density projectiles in orbit. They can simultaneously disable several Starlink satellites, but pose a risk of widespread collateral damage to other space systems. They can simultaneously disable several Starlink satellites, but pose a risk of widespread collateral damage to other space systems. Analysts warned that the use of such weapons could cause uncontrolled chaos in space, threatening not only Western countries but also Russia itself and its allies, including China. This may deter Moscow from actually using or deploying the system. About experimental system, the intelligence reports do not specify when Russia will be able to deploy such weapons, nor whether they have been tested. However, one official notes that the system is in an active phase of development and the timing of its readiness remains classified. The projectiles will be several millimeters in size, which will make them difficult to detect by ground-based and orbital surveillance systems. This, in turn, may make it difficult to prove responsibility for a possible attack. If satellites start winking out with damage, I guess you could put two and two together, says Clayton Swope, a space security and weapons expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. About extent of damage. Most damage would probably be done to the solar panels because they're probably the most fragile part of satellites, Swope says. That would be enough, though, to damage a satellite and probably bring it offline. Analysts do not rule out that the very fact of developing such weapons may be part of a strategy of intimidation without their actual use. Analysts warn that after such an attack, debris and small fragments will eventually return to Earth, posing a threat to other orbital systems. Starlink satellites are in orbit about 550 kilometers above the planet's surface. At the same time, the Chinese space station Tiangong and the International Space Station operate in lower orbits, so according to Swope, both objects are in a zone of potential risk. He also notes that the level of space chaos that such weapons can cause allows Moscow to put pressure on its opponents even without actually using them. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.